Hello everyone. The data for May is finally out. Let's take a look together at the real estate market situation in Nanaimo. Simply put, May is a peak season for us. The number of transactions increased by 14% compared to the same period last year, and the number of listings also went up by 20%. This means that both sellers and buyers are active. So in May, everyone was really hustling and busy with buying and selling houses. So is the average price actually going up or down? The average price is actually 859.0, which is roughly 860.0. Compared to the same period last year, it's basically flat. Some people ask, hey, who exactly are these people buying houses right now? Generally, most of the buyers we see here are those with immediate needs. For example, people who come here for work, or those whose children have grown up and want to have their own place, or people who need to downsize. Maybe their current house is too big and they want to move into a condo or a townhouse. All of these are buyers with real needs who are actively looking at properties. Aside from these personal factors, there's another point. Compared to the same period last year, the stress test hasn't changed, but the mortgage interest rates, the central bank has gradually lowered them since last year, continuing to this year. So this has brought in a new group of buyers, helping them find it a bit easier to get a mortgage. All right, but today we received some news reports saying that the central bank has decided to keep the benchmark interest rate unchanged. It didn't change in April, and it hasn't changed in June either. So the next question is, why hasn't it changed? The central bank explained that there is still too much uncertainty right now. Trade negotiations between the US and various countries have not yet been finalized. So the level of uncertainty is very high. This uncertainty can lead to political instability, not political instability, but rather economic instability. There's a question of whether the inflation rate will rise or fall, or whether the employment rate, or rather the unemployment rate, will increase. So will these uncertain factors ultimately cause our real estate market to go down or up? But coming back to this, in Nanaimo, I think it's actually quite resilient under this kind of pressure. Over the past 3 years, even with continuous interest rate hikes, the market has managed to hold steady at over 800.0. Even now, it's still over 800.0. For these 3 years, the average price has basically stayed above 800.0, so it's already shown a lot of resilience during this period. So personally, I still have quite a bit of confidence in the Nanaimo market, but as for other places, I'm not too sure. But here, I think it's still worth considering this matter. Right now, the advice we give to buyers or clients is that there are indeed more listings available, so you can take your time to look around and choose carefully. Actually, the polarization is quite severe. How should I put it? If a house is really good with high-end renovations, we often see that there are multiple offers. But for some houses that need renovations or have projects that require work and money, I've noticed these properties tend to sell a bit more slowly. Many people aren't willing to take on that kind of hands-on work unless the house is really super cheap, so cheap that you'd want to buy it without even thinking twice. But if the house is just average, a lot of people aren't willing to spend the effort to do this, especially certain groups. In particular, investors, given the current uncertainties, are speculating whether prices will drop, whether the housing market will go down. So many investors are still not actively making moves. However, people who are buying to live in a house, those with real housing needs, are still actively viewing properties. Next, let's talk about whether it's a good time for sellers to put their houses on the market. Well, you have to think about it. If you compare it to last year or the year before, it's actually about the same, because we're still in a relatively sluggish period. Selling a house isn't like it was in 2022 during that time. How to say it? Back then, you could just take a photo with your phone, put up a sign on your lawn, and people would come knocking on your door saying, I want to buy your house, can you sell it to me? That era is already over. So just forget about all of that now. Nowadays, you need to have your house fully renovated, spruce it up a bit, and really present its best side, just like sending your daughter off to get married. So in our team, we've prepared a checklist of things you should do before selling your house. If you want this list, feel free to leave a comment below, and when our team sees it, we'll send it to you. All right, so do you think now is the time to buy a house or to sell one? I think the most important thing when it comes to buying a house is whether you have an immediate need. Secondly, it's about whether there are a lot of properties to choose from. Right now, I think there are plenty of options available, so I believe this is a good time to buy a house. Simply put, when it comes to selling a house, I think you need to think it through carefully. If you want to wait for the right time to sell at a good price, Well, if you bought in 2021 or 2022, you might not be able to get that price now unless you've made some upgrades. But if you bought your house in 2019 or before 2018, then the price has still gone up and there's still a profit margin. All right, that's all for our discussion today. We'll talk again later. See you. All right, bye-bye.